So in answering the question of should I bury the potatoes, should I bury then mulch the potatoes, or should I just put the potatoes on top of the ground and then mulch them, the Ruth Stout method? Well, I kind of did all three this year. So first, I just buried the potatoes. One I mounded kind of on top of the ground, but down like maybe a couple inches, and then mounded over them. And then one I like dug a trench and buried them underground. So that's gonna be a bit of work harvesting. Um, but let's look at those potatoes. So these are those potatoes. These guys are just in the ground. These guys are on the ground but mounded over. You can kind of see the mound in there. They're all right. I mean, we tilled up this whole area. It was just pure field, and it looks like the English plantain wants to come back and make it a field again. But they're doing all right. They're not doing stellar, but we'll still get potatoes, probably more than we put in. But then I took some of these guys, and early on when I saw the weeds, I took some hay and I mulched them. And these are those guys. Now lately I just weed eated in between these rows. But these guys, I didn't weed eat between them, and the plants are still looking thicker than these guys. So if I back up, let's take a look. See how these rows are kind of narrow, and then once they hit that patch, they fatten up. The plants are stronger and healthier. Those guys are still buried, but then after they were buried, they got mulched. So yeah, now let's take a look at just the mulch. So where we tilled and then put them on top of the tilled ground and then just buried them. Now, okay, this group is cheating. It's actually 3 rows, while those are 2 rows each. This guy's 3 rows, but these plants are so thick, it's just a solid block of purple potatoes. So I'm really excited. These guys seem to be doing the best, even though they weren't in the ground at all. And I know they're going to be way easier to harvest. But let's check in on how the harvest is, because it looks like these guys are just going to do quantitatively better. But yeah, let's see what the harvest is like. So this is video 1 of the harvest. We've gotten out one of the dug in the ground row of potatoes. We're working now on the mounded, yeah, the cat's helping me. We're working now on the mounded row of potatoes. Down by the mulch section, they're not actually completely died back. So this is like another week or 2 weeks now that these guys have had in addition to grow. And the same thing for the mulched potatoes. So I'm gonna give that probably another week or 2 before I'm gonna be working on them. But these guys are completely died back, and they're coming out of the ground so far. Yes, this row has produced just about, probably double or yeah, probably double what I put in the ground, maybe triple on a good plant, maybe 1.5 times what I put in on a smaller plant. But yeah, no, these guys have a lot more growing time by quite a few weeks. So hopefully that'll translate into a bigger harvest. But yeah, right now I'm working on the mounded rows. I am getting, for some reason, more rotted ones. Probably every 2 plants I expect to get one that's just mush in the ground. This one, maybe I had 2 or 3 mush ones the entire row. Why in the ground resulted in fewer mush ones than mounded, I have no idea. But that's that result. My honest expectation would be quite a few rotten and diseased ones in the mulched row, just because they're a little more around rotting material. But I am not sure. We will find out. So let's check in with harvest video number 2. All right, so the potato harvest is now reaching the end of the harvest. So why am I wearing a 95 mask? Let's see. This is what the Ruth Stout bed section looks like. I'm pulling aside the ground, and we're getting buckets of potatoes. And that's where we came from. So when I did the math of 10-foot sections between the different rows, there was no significant difference between, over there's the buried side, there's no significant difference between my results of the mounded versus in-ground potatoes. But for the Ruth Stout bed, even on the 10-foot single line of the row, the results were larger, and I'll post those numbers right at the top there that you can see. But the biggest difference is number one, we're getting so much more rodent damage. We got like no rodent damage on the buried method, but these voles are causing serious damage to these potatoes in the Ruth Stout bed. They're just digging their tunnels into the mulch and eating away at their heart's content. But like this one, I will cut off this section and then weigh and then cook up, so I know how much I'm able to at least save from it. But then the second difference is this was probably, for the buried section, the larger size of the tubers that you would see. This would have been a quite sizable tuber. This would have been about as big as they could come in the buried section from this just plain field. I mean, I haven't been working on this soil for years to improve it. It's just been field grass. But this is kind of average small, or I mean, not small. I mean, I'm getting little salt potatoes off of the Ruth Stout bed. But I've weighed some of these potatoes, and they are, I don't know, like half pounders, I think is about the largest that I've seen. So I'm getting like medium-sized russets out of the purple potatoes. And I mean, I planted 50 pounds of seed potatoes, and just in like this little section, I got 50 pounds. So in spite of the losses, the Ruth Stout method is coming out on top. I would not plant potatoes again on this exact same spot. I would till up a new section and lay them on top and plant them. And I'd probably do more of a block than a row, because I'm noticing more chew damage on the edges than the center. But for larger potatoes, in spite of the rodent damage, in spite of a couple rotted potatoes, again, I was expecting more rot, like I said, in this row, but there's not a ton of rot. The other downside is why I'm wearing the N95 mask, and that is, as I was pulling aside the mulch and pulling up potatoes yesterday, I ended the day and blew my nose, and what came out was like pitch black. I was like, I used to get that back when I had chickens and like would clean the chicken coop. What's going on? And I realized today it's the mold in the mulch. So to avoid respiratory irritants or getting too sick, I just opted for the N95. So and it holds my hair back while I'm working, so I don't have hair just like down in front of me. So, but yeah, okay, so that's been the potatoes all the way to the harvest, and you guys have seen them grow now, and it's been a lot more time for me than for you guys. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What would you do to prevent rodent damage? I'm going to be looking into how to promote weasels into the area. What sort of habitat do weasels like? Because they would be able to go under the mulch. Snakes could too, but I don't want snakes. So, no, he's not the type that would eat the voles. So, hawks and birds of prey, I mean, the rodents are safe under the mulch. So, I'm going to be looking for weasel control. But, yeah, otherwise, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you do buried? Do you do covered in deep mulch? If I had rich soil that was like sandy, I would bury them. I think that would give the best of both worlds, but not too rich, or else potatoes can get scab. But yeah, loose, sandy, rich soil is the best probably, but I don't have that. I've got clay-esque soil, Piedmont clay soil. So on top works best. In spite of the damage, I still get higher yields. So take it for what it is. Good luck in your plantings, and I will catch you guys in the next video.